Dear students, welcome to Itihasa Deepika YouTube channel. In this video, I am explaining about 1 mark and 2 mark questions of chapter number 8.3, that is the French Revolution. In the next video or the second part, I will explain about 5 marks and 10 mark questions of chapter number 8.3. If you are visiting first time to this channel, please subscribe and click the bell button for getting new notifications. Answer in one word or one sentence each. Answer in one word or one sentence each. It means 1 mark questions. Question number 1. In which year did the French Revolution begin? In which year did the French Revolution begin? In the year 1789, the French Revolution began. In the year 1789, the French Revolution was begun. So the answer is 1789. Question number 2. Name the dynasty that ruled France. Name the dynasty that ruled France. So the Bourbon dynasty was the ruling dynasty of France. So the answer is Bourbon dynasty. Third one, who was called the Grand Monarch of Europe? Who was called the Grand Monarch of Europe? Louis XIV. Louis XIV was called the Grand Monarch of Europe. So the answer is Louis XIV. Question number 4. Who was the King of France at the time of French Revolution? Who was the King of France at the time of French Revolution? Louis XVI was the King of France at the time of French Revolution. So the answer is Louis XVI. Question number 5. What was the nickname of Marie Antoinette? What was the nickname of Marie Antoinette? Marie Antoinette was the Queen of France. She was called as Madame Deficit. So the answer is Madame Deficit. Madame Deficit was the nickname of Marie Antoinette. Question number 6. Which was the famous book of Montesquieu? Which was the famous book of Montesquieu? The Spirit of Laws. The Spirit of Laws was the famous book of Montesquieu. So question number 7. Name the book of Voltaire. Name the book of Voltaire. The Letters on the English. The Letters on the English is the book of Voltaire. So the answer is the Letters on the English. Question number 8. Name the French philosopher who supported the benevolent despotism. Name the French philosopher who supported the benevolent despotism. Voltaire was the French philosopher supported the benevolent despotism. So the answer is Voltaire. Question number 9. Who is known as the father of French Revolution? Who is known as the father of French Revolution? J.J. Rousseau is known as the father of French Revolution. So the answer is J.J. Rousseau. Question number 10. Which book is regarded as the Bible of French Revolution? Which book is regarded as the Bible of French Revolution? Social Contract book is regarded as the Bible of French Revolution. Social Contract is regarded as the Bible of French Revolution. Question number 11. Who wrote the book called Social Contract? Who wrote the book called Social Contract? J.J. Rousseau wrote the book called Social Contract. Social Contract was written by J.J. Rousseau. So the answer is J.J. Rousseau. Then question number 12. In which year did the fall of Bastille take place? In which year did the fall of Bastille take place? In the year 1789. In the year 1789, the Bastille was fell down. Bastille is fell down on the year 1789. In the year 1789. 13. Who was the head of the Committee of Public Safety? Who was the head of the Committee of Public Safety? Robespierre. Robespierre was the head of the Committee of Public Safety. So the answer is Robespierre. Part 2. Answer in 2 words or 2 sentences each. So 2 mark questions. Therefore, write in 2 words or 2 sentences. Question number 1. Name any 2 rulers of France on the eve of French Revolution. Name any 2 rulers of France on the eve of French Revolution. Louis XIV, Louis XV, and Louis XVI. Write any 2 among these: Louis XIV, Louis XV, Louis XVI. Question number 2. Who were the king and queen of France at the time of French Revolution? Who were the king and queen of France at the time of French Revolution? Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. So Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette are the king and queen of France at the time of French Revolution. Marie Antoinette or Mary Antoinette. Then question number 3. Mention any 2 differences between the privileged and unprivileged groups of French society. Mention any 2 differences between the privileged and unprivileged groups of French society. Here I highlighted 5 important differences. Write any 2 among these. The privileged were in minority, who were less than 2% of the French population. They monopolized all the highest offices in the army, church, and the government. They were also exempted from paying taxes and free from the authority of the court. They were the owners of enormous wealth and exploited the peasants and workers. The unprivileged groups had to pay all taxes and were not eligible for any higher governmental services. Here, the privileged class people enjoys all the government jobs, but the unprivileged groups had to pay all taxes and were not eligible for any higher governmental services. So, the privileged class exempted from the paying taxes, but the unprivileged classes should pay all the taxes. Then the privileged classes people, owners of enormous wealth, and exploited the peasants and workers. Question number 4. Name the 3 classes of French society. Name the 3 classes of French society. First estate, second estate, and third estate. These are the 3 classes of French society. First estate, second estate, and third estate. 5th one. Name any 2 important philosophers of France. Name any 2 important philosophers of France. First one, Montesquieu, Voltaire, J.J. Rousseau, and Diderot. Montesquieu, Voltaire, J.J. Rousseau, and Diderot. Write any two among these. Montesquieu, Voltaire, J.J. Rousseau, and Diderot. Question number 6. What were the principles or watchwords of the French Revolution? What were the principles or watchwords of the French Revolution? The principles of French Revolution are liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty, equality, and fraternity were the principles or watchwords of the French Revolution. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. Question number 7. Name any two books of J.J. Rousseau. Name any two books of J.J. Rousseau. Social Contract, Confession, then Laws. So write any two among these. Social Contract, Confession, Laws are the important books written by J.J. Rousseau. Question number 8. Name any two taxes paid by the French people. Name any two taxes paid by French people. So the first one, taille. A property tax called taille, French pronunciation taille. Then gabelle. A salt tax called gabelle. And a religious tax called tithe. Taille, gabelle, tithe are the three important taxes collected by the French government during French Revolution. So the property tax called taille, salt tax called gabelle, and religious tax called tithe. 9th one. Name any two finance ministers of France on the eve of French Revolution. Name any two finance ministers of France on the eve of French Revolution. First one, Turgot, Necker, and Calonne. Turgot, Necker, Calonne are the important finance ministers of France on the eve of French Revolution. Write any two among these. Turgot, Necker, and Calonne. Question number 10. What did the finance ministers of France suggest to solve the financial crisis? What did the finance ministers of France suggest to solve the financial crisis? The finance ministers of France suggested the reduction in unnecessary expenditures. The first one, reduction in unnecessary expenditures, and to impose some taxes on privileged classes to solve the financial crisis. Impose some taxes on privileged classes to solve the financial crisis. For this, they suggested to summon the Estate General Meeting. They suggested to summon the Estate General Meeting. Question number 11. What is the tennis court oath? What is the tennis court oath? The third estate, which was in majority, came out of Parliament and assembled at a tennis court on 20th June 1789 and took an oath that they should not dispose until a constitution for France was framed. This is famous as the tennis court oath. So the estate general meeting was going on. During that period, the third estate people came out of the estate general meeting or parliament and assembled at a tennis court on 20th June 1789, and they took an oath that they should not dispose until a constitution for France was framed. This is called the tennis court oath. Question number 12. Name the groups of French revolutionaries. Name the groups of French revolutionaries. Girondists. The moderates are called as Girondists in France. Then the Jacobins. The extremists are called as Jacobins during the French Revolution. Girondists and Jacobins. Question number 13. What is September Massacre? What is September Massacre? The suspected loyalists are the supporters of King Louis XVI were massacred in September 1792 by guillotine. Since thousands of people were massacred in this month means in the month of September, it is called as September Massacre. In the month of September 1792, many suspected loyalists of Louis XVI were guillotined. This incident is called September Massacre. So, dear students, here I stop my explanations on questions and answers relating to French Revolution, that is the chapter number 8.3. In the next video, or the part 2, I will explain about 5 marks and 10 marks question of chapter number 8.3, that is the French Revolution. If this video is useful to you, please share with your classmates. Thank you all.